All right, everyone. Today I want to talk about two integrated amps. They are eye-catching, they're gorgeous, they're beautiful in design. It's a hybrid, meaning each of these integrated amplifiers has two preamp tubes and a solid-state power section. I'm going to specifically talk about the Advanced Paris A12 integrated amp. And since I have the A10 here, which comes in at a lower price, I'll talk about that as well with some comparisons and the differences. There's all kinds of features here, inputs, outputs, dual sub-outs, a high bias mode. Let's talk about the A12 and the A10 from Advanced Paris. So before I get started today, I want to thank DedicatedAudio.com. Now, Dedicated Audio is a hi-fi shop, a dealer in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I've been buying from Dedicated. I think my first time was over 20 years ago. They've been around for 25 years. And I used to go in the shop when I lived in Arizona. The guy that runs it, that owns its name is Dan, and he does an amazing job there. He's knowledgeable. He carries some of the finest hi-fi brands, and he's great to work with. Now, Dedicated Audio also recently became a sponsor of my website, which is awesome, but it helps keep these reviews going. It's also due to Dedicated Audio that I have the A10 and A12 Classic here. So if you're interested in either of these, I highly suggest checking out dedicatedaudio.com or giving Dan a call at the phone number. I'll put it right up here on the screen. All right, so here is the A12 Classic. I have the A10 right next to it. Can turn that one on as well. And you'll see when you turn them on, there's a little warm up. Tells you how many seconds till it turns on. It does kind of a slow boot up with these tubes. And as you can see, there's two tubes right there. Has a very reflective face plate, so I'm trying to not get too many reflections in here. But you have two really large VU meters, a volume dial. Your analog inputs can be changed here. Your digital can be changed here. Also, if you hold this volume button in, it opens up a plethora of settings that show up right here, and you can customize this unit to your liking. There's a lot of settings that you can change with this amplifier. Now, the A12 Classic and the A10 Classic are really, really beautiful integrated amps at a really good price. The A10 Classic comes in at $2,500, which is an insane, absurd value if you're looking for a fully featured integrated amp. Now, the A12 is a little bit fancier, more powerful, has more features. It's bigger, it's taller. It comes in at $37.99. Now, I've been listening to the A10 and the A12 with a variety of speakers, even what you see behind me, the Pure Audio Project Duet 15s, the Triangle Magellan 40th Anniversary Duettos, the new budget ELAC speakers that come in at $500 that I have here, the Debut 3.0 little bookshelves, as well as the Borison X2s that I have here. Now, I'll say it right now, the A12 that costs more does sound better to me. It's more refined, it's silkier, it's sweeter, it has more dynamics and seemingly more punch. It's a little more spatial and 3D, but the bottom line is it's more refined, meaning there's no trace of raggedness or that digititis, as some call it. Very smooth operator, very sweet, sweet sounding amplifier. Now, the front of the A12 Classic, as I already mentioned, the front of the A12 has beautiful big VU meters, the same with the A10. You can see them right behind me, but I'll share some close-up images and video of them as I speak about them. What drew me to these, I saw these on the dedicatedaudio.com website a while back, and I saw these lower prices, and I said to myself, these must be built to a more mid-fi level because, you know, we look around today at these hi-fi products and some of these brands that come in at $7, $8, $9, $10, $20,000 for an integrated amp. And here I see them for $24.99, $37.99. So my automatic assumption was, well, there must be something that's not great with these. They're probably very good, but I imagine they would have cheap parts for some reason, because I've seen that somewhat in this field, in the hi-fi realm. So when I finally got a chance to see them both, I was blown away when I took them out of the box. All right, so here's the back. It's loaded with connections here. You got dual speaker outputs, so you can run 2 speakers. You have your sub out, dual sub out. The crossover can go to 75 hertz or 150 hertz. You have an amp in, which means you can put hook up a preamp to this and use this as an amplifier. Has a pre-out, meaning you can hook this up and use it as a preamplifier into a power amp. You have CD aux 1 through 4, so you have 5 RCA inputs. You have a record out. You have a phono stage that is moving coil high, moving coil low, and moving magnet. So it covers every kind of cartridge. You have the loading here. I believe that's the loading. Headphones. You can choose the impedance of the headphone input 1 and the headphone input 2. I've never seen this on an integrated amp. XLR input 1, XLR input 2. You have a preamp out also in XLR. You have 3 optical inputs, 3 coaxial digital inputs, and AES input as well. USB inputs, USB audio, HDMI audio in, HDMI ARC. So this thing is loaded with features. So design-wise, some people say these are a copy of Macintosh. If you say that, then you got to say Luxman is a copy of Macintosh. Accuphase is a copy of Macintosh. Nothing about, to me anyway, the A10 or the A12 looks like a Macintosh. Different color lighting, electric blue versus green, bigger meters on the advanced Paris, different kind of knobs and buttons, and a different faceplate altogether. The A12 at $37.99, think about this. 2 times 190 watts per channel into 8 ohms, 2 times 280 watts into 4 ohms. It is a hybrid, so there's 2 preamp tubes in the front, and you can see them with a little bit of glow when it's turned on. And the solid state amp section is what drives the speakers, but it's those preamp tubes that give the A12 especially a very sweet, kind of warm leaning sound, but I'm telling you, it's not warm where it's going to obscure details. What I mean is there's warmth in the midband, and that really helps to flesh things out. I love amps with a little bit of warmth in the mid-range because it fills in the vocals, it fills in some of that sound where some amps are so lean, and even speakers are so lean in the mid, it almost makes them sound hyper detailed. Now the A12 Classic is again a little warm leaning in the mid-range, but the top end, the treble, is super sweet, which makes this amp very spatial, a very big sound stage. And my integrated reference at this time is the Electro Compagnie ECI 6DX2. Now that's a $7,500 amp. So the Electro Compagnie is several thousand more than the Advanced Paris, but the Advanced Paris is giving a somewhat larger sound stage and a more spatial presentation up top. Now the Electro Compagnie has its own kind of things that it does that I love, that solidity of the sound, the super refined sound, but the A12 at $37.99 has way more features. It's a cooler looking design, at least to some of you would think so. Some of you would not think so. It has more power available and it sounds fantastic. So at $37.99, this is an absurd value. And the A10, even though it's not quite as refined as that A12, not quite as powerful as that A12, it sounds amazing. And if you compare that to other amps that are $2,500, I don't see any scenario where I would take something else at that price point or under versus the A10. But let's talk about the features of the A12 because this is pretty incredible. And I'm still in shock. Well, not shock, but it's like disbelief that they're able to offer this for this price point. And $37.99 is not chump change. It's not like you're going to spend $500 on a receiver. $37.99 is expensive, but if you compare it to integrated amps that are even double the cost, most amps, even the more expensive ones, don't have the feature set of the A12. So let's get into the feature set. We already talked that it's a hybrid design, uses 2 preamp tubes, has dual mono power section, dual transformers. How often do you see that in an integrated amp? And on the right and left, you have separate input selectors. One of those knobs is for your analog inputs, of which there are many, and one is for digital inputs. There are many. Now, this also has a built-in DAC, a built-in phono stage. That's moving magnet and moving coil in the A12 Classic. There's dual 2 RCA subwoofers out with a crossover right there next to those RC outs. It has dual headphone jacks on the front. There's a switch on the back for a high bias mode, which I'm guessing runs those tubes a little bit hotter and a higher bias. And I noticed an even sweeter, more electric kind of vibe going on when it's in high bias mode. So I've been keeping it in high bias mode. That's a feature that I've not seen on any other integrated amplifier. It comes with a really nice remote, actually. I wish it would light up, but you can't get everything, right? But this is a remote I prefer to the $7,500 Electro Compagnie remote. The top of this box of this integrated amp, it looks really nice. It has the Advanced Paris logo right on the top. The front looks like it's some kind of plexiglass. And when you have it off, it's like jet black, right? And when you power it on, the electric blue lights come on the meters and everything lights up nicely. There's a volume indicator to show you exactly what volume you're set at. This amp is just loaded with everything anyone could ever ask for, especially those starting out in hi-fi. Now, this is a big piece to start out in hi-fi, but not only could it be a starter integrated, the A10 or the A12, this could be your amp for the next decade because it's really that good. Now, powering it on, it's quiet. I'm not getting any buzzing or humming from the dual toroidal transformers. There's a warm-up mode, so you turn it on and it has a countdown timer on the front. It's like 20 or 30 seconds. It warms up the tubes gently, gets everything going before it clicks everything on. It seems like this amplifier, Advanced Paris, has thought of everything. So let me talk about the built-in DAC of the A12. Now, I ran the HiFi Rose RS130 and the Electro Compagnie ECM1 Mark II into this amp as a streamer only to listen to the DAC. It sounded really, really good. I wouldn't put it up there with the $3, $4, $5 and up $1,000 DACs compared to the Dana Fripp's Pontus 15th. The Pontus had a little more clarity, a little more snap, a little more detail in the way the imaging was happening. It sounded more refined. Now, when I plugged in the Electro Compagnie ECM1 Mark II streamer DAC and used that DAC inside the Electro Compagnie, it was then that the sound quality sounded to me like a high-end, beautiful system. The DAC inside of the A12 is very, very good, but later you can always add an external DAC if you want to up the performance, right? You don't have to stick with the internal DAC. Built-in DAC, very good. Built-in phono stage, very good to excellent. I love that they have moving coil and moving magnet. So the power section, the dual everything, it's just a beautiful, no-brainer bargain. This is a true bargain if you're looking for an integrated amp. Now, let's move to the A10, and I'll just be real quick. The A10 is smaller, it's lighter, it doesn't have the dual mono design, it doesn't have every feature of the A12, but I'm just going to talk about sound quality, comparing the two. The A10 is $2,500, and I can't think of an amp at that price range integrated that I would buy other than the A10. If that was my budget, look at the A10 if you have a $2,500 budget. So I'll put it like this. If you get the A10, it's a beautiful, beautiful integrated amp. But after a year or so, you might start getting that itch, that hi-fi itch to say, wow, I know there's better out there. I wonder what this sounds like. But you would enjoy the heck out of that A10 while you had it. And who knows, some may keep that A10 for its lifetime. Now, if you have an amp like the A12 Classic, my opinion is you wouldn't get that itch, at least not so quick. You could be happy with that for a long, long time. Now, I have my reference Electro Compagnie that costs about double. And is it worth double the price in performance? No, it's not. But what I gain with the Electro Compagnie is a little more refinement, a little beefier sound, a little darker, a shade darker. But what I lose is it's not as spatial, right? It doesn't have all the features that the A12 Classic has. The A12 has a nicer remote, in my opinion. So there's pros and cons. It's not as cut and dry as this amp is 3800 and this one's 75, so this one must be so much better. The A12 Classic punches way above its weight. And in all honesty, I think if some other companies released the A12 Classic as it sits, they would be asking $59.99 for it. That's my opinion. So fantastic products from Advanced Paris. If you're interested in either, do give Dan a call at Dedicated Audio. It was because of him that I got to try these and tell you guys about it. So that was awesome of him to set up for them to come here direct from Advanced Paris. I think these are going to go to him now, and my guess is he'll sell them as open box items, maybe at a discount, which I think is fair. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, thumbs up and subscribe. Hit that notification bell, and then you'll get a notification from YouTube that a new video has been uploaded. Also, if you're on Tidal, check out my HiFi demo playlist. I'm at HiFi Huff over at Tidal. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one very, very soon. Love you all.